Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we have a POB lecture for you. This one will be taken from section 8 of the syllabus, section 8. And for section 8, we are looking at specific objectives number 5 and 6. So number 5 says, outline ways used by individuals to manage personal income. And 6, differentiate between savings and investments. All right, so let's just jump into it. So this one is 8.2 in the textbook, the Principles of Business textbook. And so let's just look at what we're talking about here. We're looking at personal finance. And so we know that, it's very key. It's an integral part of, helping you to become financially viable, helping you to become financially independent. You have to be able to manage your personal finance, your personal money, the best way possible. You don't want to be squandering the money. You don't want to be investing in using poor choices to invest. So of course, the first thing you're going to start with is a budget. And so budgeting is one of the key ways in which a person can help to manage their personal income. And of course, this is very difficult for some people because a lot of people today work from paycheck to paycheck. And so it's not everybody would have the funds necessary to invest or put up for a rainy day. All right, but the first thing you should do is, of course, prepare a budget. Now, what is a budget? Now, a budget is simply a plan that shows how we're going to earn the money and how we're going to spend that money. All right, that's simply put. It's how we're going to earn the money and how we're going to spend it. That's what a budget is all about. A plan to show step by step how we're going to earn your funds and how we are going to spend them. So simply put, just shows you where you're going to get your money from and how you're going to intend to spend that money. And of course, the ultimate thing is for your expenditure to be less than your income. You don't want to spend more than you earn. All right, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We just continue and see what they're talking about here. All right, so key terms that I sure most of y'all know already: expenditure, income, savings. All right, so your expenditure, of course, would be all the monies that are going out towards some expense of some sort. So that's the money you're spending. That's the expenditure. And your income is the money you're earning, whether it is by working or whether it is by maybe rental property or some other passive form of income. That's your income, the money you earn, the money you bring in. Expenditure. For many people, some outgoings will typically be regular and fixed in nature. For example, each month the rent will need to be paid, and there may be a loan repayment on a car due and local taxes to pay. So of course, there are some fixed expenditures. It is important that there are always sufficient funds to cover these fixed outgoings. Otherwise, debt could mount up quickly. Other expenses or outgoings are flexible. For example, an individual can decide how many times a month they wish to eat out in a restaurant or how much they want to spend on clothes. Of course, we know that that's one way to control your expenditure. There are certain things that you don't have to do. All right, a lot of people say that, a lot of people drink them coffee in the morning, they eat their breakfast in the morning, they buy their breakfast, buy their lunch. They could very well just pack a lunch, pack a breakfast or whatever to save some money. But that's what it's flexible. When petty reach around, you feel like a millionaire, 1,000 depending on your job. And for that weekend, you may live it up a little bit. You go out, take a drink, but that's just for one weekend. That some of us live from paycheck to paycheck. So expenditure is basically the money that is outgoing, the cash outflows from your household. And so like I said, some are fixed and some are variable or flexible. So there are some that you must pay or else you get in trouble. You must pay your credit card or else interest rates mount up. You must pay rent or your mortgage or else foreclosure or eviction. You must pay your car payment or else, the reaper man gonna come and get that car from you. So I say must is a strong word, but there are consequences for not paying. And the consequences will be, of course, people coming back for their things. But of course, if you want to pull back, curb some of your expenditure, there are some things that you can pull back on, such as, eating out, clothing, movies, entertainment, hobbies, non-essentials, basically non-essential goods. You can pull back on some of those if you want to save some money. And of course, the income received can vary considerably over time for individuals. Although some people earn a regular income from employment or pensions, others do not. They may be employed in seasonal employment and work particularly long hours for some months of the year, but much less so at other times. So of course, income fluctuates for some people, and that's one of the reasons why some people wouldn't venture out to become an entrepreneur, because they are afraid of that ebb and flow of incomes. You know, sometimes it rains, sometimes it's dry. Some people cannot live like that. Some people cannot take that kind of risk. So they want a comfortable job with a fixed income, you know, like a government job or something like that, where they're assured of their monthly payment, well, every month. So that's one thing you have to consider when you are looking at, you know, employment and things like that. Which source of income you prefer, a steady one or one that might be up and down, but when it's up, it's really up, but when it's down, you know, it's dry. So your income is basically the money that comes into your household monthly, weekly, annually, whatever the case may be. So that's the money you earn from your daily driver, from your livelihood. That's the money you earn. That's your income. Or, of course, like I said, some people might have a passive income, meaning that they don't have to work as much. They don't have to work. The money just comes in. For example, if you have rental property, you know, the money comes in every month. If the clients, you know, are not too worthless or whatever, but, you know, so you have passive income. For example, again, if let's say you have a YouTube channel and you have your videos, you know, your money would come in monthly based on, you know, your viewership and stuff, without you even having to do anything. Your backlog would come in with some little funds every month. So there are many examples out there of passive income. Of course, you have things like, you know, certain investment. Like, for example, dividend. You might get dividends, you know, annually or quarterly, whatever. That's passive income. So there are different types of income out there. So, you know, this is not a bookish, you know, explanation right now. We're just looking at life here. So this is not the textbook, all this is life here. So we're talking about beyond the textbook, the scope of the textbook. So a lot of people were never taught about these things in school, you know, the passive income, where to earn money, you know, where to build wealth and stuff like that. You know, you don't always have to aspire to just finishing school, get a job, and then have to, you know, depend on someone else. You can always become an entrepreneur, take the risk, start your own business, earn some real money, build wealth. All right, so you can't really build wealth, you know, when you're working for somebody as a certain, like a government job or something like that, you know. But you can build wealth if you're an entrepreneur, and you can dictate basically your ups and downs for the amount of money you're earning. Of course, savings. Extending a budget into the future is helpful. It means you can forecast how much money you will need to save to pay fixed budget items and other recurrent expenses, and how much you have to save for big future purchases. Big future expenses may include holidays, cars, retirement, unexpected expenses such as a car repair bill or repairs on the home. It is always advisable to have a little money saved in reserve just in case the unexpected happens. And so what the conventional thinking out there is that you're supposed to put up at least 6 months. You're supposed to have at least 6 months of your salary at all times in your savings. Liquid money, liquid cash. Not, you know, bonds or stocks or anything that you can pull and deposit. No. You want at least 6 months of liquid cash in your account at all times. That's what you call the emergency fund. All right, so you want to be able to, if something happens, if you lose a job, you might be able to have 6 months to, you know, get let me just rephrase, a minimum of 6 months. You can have more, of course, but a minimum of 6 months is a nice comfortable area that you need to have in order to live comfortably, knowing that if something happens, you have a grace period in which you have enough money put aside that you can do certain things until you get another job. All right, so yeah, savings is very important, but one thing you have to note is that you cannot really build wealth just saving alone, because the saving interest rate is just like nuts change. It's like 2%, 1% annually. So saving accounts, normal savings account, would not really help you to build wealth over time, because you might have an emergency next month, and what happen? All that saving wiped out. So that's not really building wealth like that. To build wealth, you need to really invest in certain things. That's how you build wealth over time. You know, like real estate or maybe the stock market if you're brave enough, things like that. So savings is good. It's good so that you have something for a rainy day, something that in case something happens, somebody gets sick, you know, a car breakdown, something you can pull and go. So you should always consider saving first before anything else, because savings is what is going to be able to pull you out of any little problems you might have down the line. So sometimes you just pull whatever money you want from your account, from your paycheck one time. Don't even watch that money. That money ain't a part of your annual, your monthly expenses. That's just your savings. Just put it aside. Don't watch it. And so you can practice these habits so you can have good habits when you get older as it relates to savings. Setting out detailed budget also allows you to identify areas where future savings can be made. Being able to reduce spending means you can pay off existing debt more quickly. Alright, that is true. Your financial forecasting and planning will also be of interest to those you may wish to borrow from. So you want to go to the bank to get some financing. Of course, they want to know your credit history. They're going to do your background check, and if you have a nice credit history, then they'll be more willing to give you that loan. If you are making an application for a mortgage, the lender will be interested in seeing copies of your bank statement from the previous 6 months. This information will indicate whether you are capable of balancing your income and outgoings. Alright, so outgoings just simply means your expenses or expenditure. Alright, so that's the next reason why you should try and practice saving as much as possible, because that habit can lead to you obtaining financing rather quickly, as opposed to somebody who would have difficulties saving their money. They spend it up every month, so the bank can't really guarantee that you might be able to pay back the loan when time comes. Budget analysis and decision making. To budget, you first need to identify and quantify all your income and expenditure over the next 6 to 12 months. Then you can determine if you can afford all your outgoings or your expenditure, and how much, if any, you can save as follows. So of course, budgeting here is not just well, you have different types of budgets. You have your short term, your long term, your medium term. So 6 to 12 months, that's more of a medium term kind of budget, but of course, you still need a monthly budget so that you can, break down. You can see your way. But I guess you would have to start out with the 6 to 12 months so that you can break down each month differently. Alright, so let's see what we're talking about here now. Find troughs and peak in your expenditure. So that's what I'm saying. You want to plan ahead so that you can find troughs and peaks in your expenditure, meaning peak time when you're spending a lot, and then times when you're not spending as much, when you could save more in those months. I tell you, sometimes you have a birthday back to back to back and you have to buy gifts and stuff like that. That would be considered one of your peak expenditure months. Some people might have a birthday, then after a birthday you have Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever. So you have to look through your calendar and you see when you have your peak spending time, so you could save more on the days you're not spending as much. I mean, everybody know that September is a peak spending month for certain areas where you have to go back to school. You have to buy books, you have to buy uniforms, you have to buy so many things, stationery. So September would be a peak spending expenditure month, and as such, you want to start saving maybe July, August, unless you're not going on vacation, but July, August, those kind of months, or even buy stuff early, put them down so that later on you have stuff you don't have to spend so much money one time. Alright, so there will be peaks and troughs in your expenditure and income over time. That is months where you have the highest and lowest of expenditure and incomes. You need to find the months that expenditure exceeds income and vice versa. So you have to look through and see, okay, this month I'm gonna be tight, I'm going to have to dip into my savings this month. And so which months are the pressure months for you, which ones are the easier months for you. Same thing with businesses. They go through the same thing. They have peak months. Sometimes that's why you have Black Friday. Black Friday coming up, in November. And so Black Friday is one of those days when, the name literally comes from companies trying to get back into black, instead of out of the red. They're trying to make as much money for that day as they possibly can. Sometimes they make more in November than they make all year. So those companies will mark Black Friday, November, as one of their peak income months. And then, when Christmas dies off, January will be a slow period for some businesses, some restaurants and stuff. So it's same way, rest business, household, same thing. When you have your peak and your trough months, and you should act accordingly. Spend less when you know that you have a trough a month where you have less spending. So you save more, spend less, so that when the rainy days come, you have the money for that. Alright, work out the difference between yearly income and yearly expenditure. So you have to know what your annuals are, your annual expenditure, your annual income. Some of us know based on our salaries, because they are fixed, but some of us might be a little tricky because, it fluctuates, it changes. So you have to find out, the difference between your annual income and your annual expenditure. Find out the overall difference between your yearly income and expenditure. There are 3 possible outcomes. Total annual income is equal to total annual expenditure, balanced budget. Annual income exceeds expenditure, surplus budget. That's what we're looking for, the surplus, yes. Or annual income is less than expenditure, a budget deficit. That's definitely what we don't want. We don't want to be spending more than we are earning. So that's something we really, really do not want. Prepare a budget forecast. So you have to prepare a budget forecast. What's a budget forecast? Forecast means to look into the future. So you're going to prepare a budget forecast that will help you to make sensible decisions about how to manage your finances better. For example, when expenditure exceeds income, decide where to make the cuts in expenditure to bring it in line with income, such as spending less on fashionable clothing or cooking at home more rather than eating at restaurants, or switching to cheaper electricity, water, or internet suppliers. So you have to know where to cut back, right? So I know you're all students now, but you're going to become adults one day. Even now, you might have a little money on this side, you might be getting your little allowances. So you have to know when to cut back on what, save as opposed to spend. So you'll know when, your difference between needs and wants. But occasionally, of course, you can splurge on something for yourself, buy a thing or two. Don't starve yourself, don't starve yourself. Don't be too cheap, because when you die, you're going to leave the money either way. So don't be too cheap, but do not be too much of a spendthrift. So the best thing to be is more economical. Let's put it that way. Be more economical. That's a better way of putting it, instead of being just cheap or too much of a spendthrift. All right. So when you find out when you're able to see the differences between your income and your expenditure, then you'll know where to cut back, or you'll know, okay, this is a month I can buy something I always wanted, and so you go and spend it, because next month it might not be as tight. All right. Save for the future, of course. Save for the future. You may now find you can save. You can even set monthly or annual saving targets. This will help you to avoid paying a bank loan. You might plan a holiday or buy a car, but you still also need to save for unexpected problems, such as when you may have to stop work for a while due to illness or to a baby. By saving, you will not have to worry so much about the bills when problems occur. So the truth is that they say money don't buy happiness, but it sure makes you comfortable. You have a peace of mind knowing if something happens, I have enough money in the bank to be able to work to this for at least the foreseeable near future. That's why I said before, you should have at least 6 months emergency fund in your bank account, liquid at all times. Of course, when you just start working, you're not going to have that. So therefore, you have to put up towards it. All right. So those of us who do economics, we know about the Modigliani's theory, life cycle theory. You spend when you're young. When in the 30s, 40s, you spend less. Then when you retire, you spend again. All right. That's just how it goes. So based on your position in life, you'll know how much to save, what to save, your expenditure, your income. As you get older, you might find yourself having more disposable income, and as such, you might be able to save more or spend more, but regardless, based on what your current situation is. All right, so that's basically it for a little short synopsis of your personal finances. So we'll stay there for now, because the video already went a little long. We'll stay there for now and pick up next video with savings and investments. We're going to pick right up next time, right where we left off, with savings and investment. All right, so that's it for this one. Next time, we're going to look at differentiating between savings and investment. That's objective 6 in the syllabus. We didn't cover 5 and 6. We covered 5 only, so we're gonna pick up at 6 next time. And so that is it for now. All right, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Oh, before I forget, you know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when the next video drops, when the next Learn SKN video drops. All right, do that for me. Thank you kindly.